Hello, my good people. Welcome to Ticket Audiobooks. My name is Leon, and I'll be taking you through a very quick plot summary for Fathers of Nations. So, Fathers of Nation is a spellbinding and thought-provoking satirical novel tackling contemporary issues set in contemporary Africa. Paul B. Vitta uses sarcasm through humor to enlighten the reader in the social, economic, and political wrongs in the African states. The continent is still struggling with the post-independence problem, namely poverty, ignorance, and disease. Instead of solving the same problems, the states have new entrants which are equally retrogressive to the inhabitants of the African nations, corrupt and impurity. The continent is hence depicted as having lost sense of direction and moral correctness. The plot revolves around the lives of four men from different parts of Africa. This name, Professor Kimani, Comrade Melusi, Engineer Tahir, Professor Chiamaka, want the African heads of state in a summit to ratify and adopt the document that could transform the country's economic structures. The above stated four men have initially suffered in different ways under the current political system in their respective countries. This makes each and every one of them to hold a grudge against the same system that affects them and hence starts to press for possible change. Dr. Abiola Afoliba is abandoned by his American wife, Pamela. Professor Kimani from Kenya has lost his wife, Asiyo Omondi, to a former university colleague, now a politician by the name Newborn Walomo. His daughter, Tuni, dies in a fatal accident. Pastor Chiamaka is a fierce man who is jailed irregularly, also deterred from preaching. Finally, Gobile Melusi is a big-time politician, suffers in the hands of the new head of state, loses his wife, Ziliza, in a massacre. His Ndebele people are ruthlessly suppressed and murdered by the head of state's direct order. In addition to the foreman, Engineer Saif Tahir, a nuclear bomb expert, Mr. Thaddeus Longway, are also dissatisfied by their African leadership. They are assisted by the VOA journalist Fiona Mackenzie and Nicola Sentinel, who is one accord plan to from the agenda before the heads summit held in Gambia's capital of Banjul. A summit of the heads of the African states is planned to take place in Banjul, the capital of Gambia. 50 heads of state are invited, including the Gambian head of state, who is supposed to be the chair of the summit but passes it on to another president. The heads of states are assembled and accommodated in the Pinnacle Hotel with their outer range. They look forward to readopt the Way Omega ideology, which advocates for a common growth strategy of the citizens, which will enable the donor to continue supporting the African nation through aids and grants. The ideology is fronted by Minister Zinto, who claims that the strategy was well thought out by experts. The majority of the African heads of state seem to be aged and have overstayed in power. A good example is President Didier Bangora, who is depicted as senile. Bibo Dibonso, who has ruled for 40 years. You can have a page review on page 157. King Jemba 5, who was a king for life. President Wasi, who had committed all sorts of atrocities, including othering many copes and so many other. The Perth Alpha, a counter-ideology emanating from AGDA, that is Agency for Governance and Development in Africa, which is championed by Mr. Thaddeus Longway, finds its way to the Heads of State Summit. Mr. Longway mobilizes the likes of Professor Kimani, Comrade Melusi, Pastor Chiamaka, Dr. Afoliba, and Engineer Tahir to use the trick to table the ideology before the summit to counter the Way Omega. Path Alpha is a strategy that advocates for mobilizing civil or public discounted into will to change. This strategy is to solve the problems some present heads of state find it difficult to solve. The advocates of Path Alpha champion the strategy because they want to solve the problems and owing to the fact that they have also suffered the ugly state abuse and do not want to suffer anymore. The summit comes to a close in an unprecedented way by the Fathers of Nations, setting up a committee to bring the matter into a conclusion. The committee said is given the name the Method Committee, which is chaired by President Bangura, who seems to be terribly confused because of senility. He uses two ways to make a decision in which strategy to be ratified: the simple matrix by toss of a coin and choice matrix. Ultimately, either way, the path alpha carries the day, meaning the common citizens wins.
Thanks for listening this piece from Ticket Audiobooks. Be sure to listen to other audiobooks in the list. Subscribe, push the notification bell and don't forget to share with your friends and family.